Hello, everyone. It's Tristan with the Gaming Bounty Board podcast today with my my host. I am the host. My friend Sputnik joining me today,
Hello.
and we'll start off with what have you been playing recently?
Tears of the Kingdom, baby.
Now,
It's
Tears of the Kingdom.
game of
Yeah,
the year.
I saw you make several posts about that.
I think hold on. I think I have 67 hours in. That's all I had many days off last week
Yeah.
because for multiple of reasons,
Hmm.
but there were at least 3 days last week where I woke up, made breakfast, booted Tears of the Kingdom, and then just went to bed that night. That's all I did.
Damn. Yeah, that's
it's 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 incredible. I
yeah.
like
I've heard a lot of great things.
Breath of the Wild is dead to me. I don't even think it ever existed. It's pointless. Why would anybody ever go back and play it? It's so good.
I still have to beat Breath of the Wild. Honestly, I never did finish the game.
I never did either, and I never
Oh,
will. There's no point.
nice.
I'm actually making a video on Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm gonna talk about partially why I never finished Breath of the Wild, but like that's yeah, I mean, just don't even bother. Just start playing Tears of the Kingdom. You'll realize there's no reason to ever go back. It's really good. I've done like 55 shrines. I've done. I found I think 20 light roots in the depths, and then I've gotten all but I think 4 or 3 regions. You're gonna say 67 hours. How have you not discovered all the regions yet? I take my time. I try to find as much shit as possible before going to the next spot.
Hey man, I do that with a lot of games. My first playthrough of Red Dead 2 was 300 hours. So that's
300? Oh
yeah,
my
yeah. That's when I
god.
rolled that's when I rolled credits was 300 hours. I think I got
Damn.
like 98% completion.
On your first go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy
I think
shit.
the only thing I had left was like the rock carvings that you find and the cigarette card collectible. I just didn't do all those because they were just one, I had no idea how to find the carvings without cheating, and then the cigarette cards was you had to just buy a lot of cigarettes, and it was just tedious, and I didn't feel like doing it.
Yeah, at a certain point, at around like hour 298, you're like, okay, I gotta just see the
I just
credits
gotta
roll on
beat
this
this game
fucking thing.
finally, and somehow I was able to avoid. I was able to avoid spoilers mostly. I didn't know how the game
Oh, nice.
ended, so I was 300 hours into the game, and still one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had.
Yeah, I never played Red Dead 2, but I saw my brother beat it, and I mean, I had no context for most of the stuff happening, but
Right?
even without context, I was still like, oh damn, like okay.
Yeah, it's definitely a really good game. That's
Yeah, I've somehow managed to avoid most spoilers for Tears of the Kingdom.
yeah.
I did get something slightly spoiled for me. I won't spoil it for anybody, but for context, there's like these like new enemy types where there's like that's like these like hands in the ground, and
I
my
think I
brother
saw
was
them in a
telling me for
trailer or
like,
something.
oh yeah. My brother's been playing it a lot too, and he was like, "Yo, when you fight those things, you're gonna shit." That's what he said. And then I fought those things,
Hmm.
and I kept dying, and I was like, "What's the big deal about these things?" And he's like, "Bro, just wait." And then I saw an image of something, and I was like, "Oh, that must be what happens." And then I just earlier today beat the hands and found out what happens. Yeah, I shit. It's crazy. It's so cool.
That's cool. I mean, so does Tears of the Kingdom play mostly the same as Breath of the Wild?
uh, I mean, apart from like the new mechanic, like
Like the
the fusing system
buildables
and
and
like the whole like building thing,
yeah.
it's identical.
Okay.
The weapon durability is the same. I think it
Is
might actually be worse, but like there's the kind of mitigating factor of being able to fuse stuff, which I think boosts it like a little bit.
okay.
Um,
Does
but yeah, for them, what's that?
uh does it graphically look pretty much the same?
Oh, it's identical.
Identical?
Um,
Okay.
it runs a little bit worse than Breath of the Wild, but like I mean that's to be expected just because like the fact that I mean, I'm parroting what a lot of people have said already, but like the fact that that game exists, one on the Switch, two is 16 gigabytes, and three doesn't immediately just crash is a fucking miracle.
Oh, the new one?
Like yeah, the new one.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
understand
I mean, I think I
how
think
that game exists.
I think Nintendo has always been extremely good at working within their means, right? They are the
Oh,
only
absolutely.
people who can truly get the most out of their hardware, and their hardware is always inferior to what is, out at the time. And so they're always able to push that somehow to its limits. And then you get all these other people who like port games over, or they have no idea how to work on Nintendo's hardware, and they always make these just inferior products that give Nintendo kind of a bad rap until you play a Nintendo product and you're like, holy shit, this is really freaking good. And like the fact that something like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom can exist on a Switch and still be like really, really good is already crazy.
Yeah, I would say if anybody hasn't played Tears of the Kingdom yet, as an example, I would say that Tears of the Kingdom on the Switch probably runs about as well as Breath of the Wild did on the Wii U. Kind of, sort of. It's like a little bit similar because that's how I played Breath of the Wild. I
Yeah.
have my copy somewhere over there, but I mean, I'm gonna throw it away later. But
So I'm curious, is the issues with performance and stuff, is that easily patchable stuff, or do you think that's always going to be a problem?
I think just on the hardware, it's always going to be present to some extent. Like there's that mechanic Ascend where like they made no clipping cannon, which is
Yeah,
crazy. You
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
jump through essentially any flat surface if you're underneath it and it's
Mhm.
close enough. Um,
Yeah.
and that mean like I don't, which means like Nintendo mapped the whole world and then
Mm-hmm.
like they must have mapped it again to make sure that you can like jump through it. That
Yeah,
it blows
yeah. I
my
mean, that's
mind that
that's
it's
that's
real.
crazy. Yeah. Actually,
Like I
I
don't
can't remember
understand.
who, but someone just released a video that I haven't watched yet. About it's about something about Tears of the Kingdom and Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts.
Oh yeah, Hot Cider. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go. That's who it was. I haven't watched it
yeah,
yet,
yeah.
but it's an interesting
It's a
comparison
good video.
because that's definitely the closest thing that has done something that similar. And I'm
I
also
I
curious
uh
about the video, given the fact that I'm a huge Banjo fan. I really don't care that much for Nuts and Bolts because I grew up with the other ones, and
yeah, same.
specifically the
I never
first
played Nuts
one.
and Bolts
And
though.
I've only maybe played 30 minutes of Nuts and Bolts. And I think as a game, it might be pretty good, but as a Banjo game, it's dog shit because it's not even a platformer. So you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that seems to be the
it's a
general
racing
consensus.
game, so it's not even the same thing. That doesn't make
It's
it
funny that you
bad,
mentioned that
but
though. Yeah, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that though because I saw because I have him on Discord.
oh,
I
okay.
saw that he was playing it,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Am I missing out? Is this game secretly like fire and none of us just know it?"
yeah.
And then he put out that video, and I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh fuck, okay."
I think there's some defenders of Nuts and Bolts, and I don't think like everyone that I've seen talk about it, I don't think anyone claims that it's a bad game per se, but it's like, oh, it's a bad Banjo game because, it's not even a platformer, so it's so away from it that it shouldn't have even been a Banjo game to begin with. It should have just been a brand new IP.
Yeah, that seems to be
It's kind of like what? Like when you start getting into like what is an example series where they had a sequel that's just so far
super
removed
weird.
from
Um,
what it was
oh man,
before.
I'm trying to
There's a
think
lot of
now.
examples, I guess, but I just none's coming to me at the moment.
Yeah, it would be like if Advance Wars like had a sequel and it was like a first person shooter or something. You'd be like,
Yeah,
wait,
or
hold on.
you could say, I guess you could say like Saints Row
Oh,
with Saints Row 4 or or Agents of Mayhem is a good example where it's like,
or uh, Five Nights at Freddy's and then FNAF World, which is like that weird like
yeah,
RPG
yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's yeah, 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 and so it's there's something there's one that I am thinking of, but I just can't remember the name. That's very um I don't know,
Well,
but
do you remember what like kind of game it was?
no, I don't. I'm just
Oh, okay.
blanking. Yeah, But
It
either
happens.
way, there's a lot of games where that happens where a series has been around so long they try to innovate and it just doesn't go well, and they kind of
Yeah.
deviate away from what made it so popular. I guess Resident Evil kind of did that. You know what I mean? If you look at
Yeah, with Resident Evil 4, sort of.
Resident Evil 4, even more so 5 and 6. Um,
I mean, 5 and 6 are just kind of. I don't know if I would agree with that necessarily. I think 4 is really like the turning point, and 5 and 6 just kind of like added on to
no, that's what I mean. That's what I
4.
mean. 4 is the turning
Oh,
point,
okay.
and 5 and
Right, right, right,
6
right.
just continued to push it even further away from Resident Evil as a
Yeah.
classic Resident Evil.
You know what's funny? I remember before 7 came out, so like back when Resident Evil was still like deep into like its like action phase.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a realization where Resident Evil 4 came out in 2005, January 11th. I remember the date exactly. And it started in 1996. And then from 2005 up until 2017, when Resident Evil 7 came out, I was like, Resident Evil has been a action series longer than it has been a fucking horror game series. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. That deeply hurt my soul. And then 7 came out, and I was
really
oh, okay.
I didn't care too much for 6, even though as an action game it was pretty good, but I didn't really care too much for it.
And yeah, I played. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I actually really like 5 for a handful of reasons.
5's fun. It's definitely unless you're playing it co-op, it's like, but as a co-op game, it's legitimately very, very fun.
Yeah. So when the first time I played it, it was actually the first Resident Evil that I like owned myself or got super into.
5?
Yeah, 5.
Oh, okay.
And I played it like co-op with my uncle, and then I played through it co-op with several friends, and I played it through it solo as well. And solo is such a fun experience, and Shiva's the best, and she's amazing. They're like, hey,
do I get a sense of sarcasm? Is that what's happening?
No, definitely not at all. No sarcasm here. They were like, hey, you remember Ashley from 4? Remember how nobody really liked that she was there? You want to make that like a character that's with you 24/7 from beginning to end of the game and can die extremely easily. Yeah,
at least
sounds
she can
like a fun idea. Yeah, but she can't shoot. At the very least, she's not good at it. She could shoot, but she misses. The worst part about it is if she dies, like she just it ends the game. You know what I mean? Like if she dies, it's over. It's not like, okay, she's down, you gotta revive her like most video games. It's like, no, she's dead and it's over. And I'm like, that's the stupidest thing ever.
In my opinion, the best thing about 5, apart from like the co-op feature, I think the thing that makes it stand out to me is the DLC that came out. I forget what it's called.
Yeah,
but you're like exploring the
Yeah, I never did play the DLC, but I have it because I bought.
Oh, it's actually pretty good.
I bought the
but like it has a hidden
whatever, and I haven't got around to beating that yet.
Oh, is there an HD version? I must have missed that somehow. But there's a hidden feature in the DLC where I'm sure most people know this, but like if you go to like the door at the beginning of the DLC and click it like 4 times or something like that, you get a secret fixed camera angle mode like the old school games, and it makes the DLC so much more enjoyable. Not to say that the DLC is like bad initially, but like just that little like bonus
kind of personally
thing makes it great.
Evil 5 might have one of the best stories in the series. Like just a straight up story, it's actually not bad.
Like, I don't remember much about 5, to be honest. I remember total global saturation, and then the one white guy that's like, hey.
And I think, most of the prior games are kind of just evil corporation, zombies, whatever. And there's more to it than that, but it's not like you have to dig to know more. And then 4 is, it's better, but it's still just like evil corporation, that shit.
Yeah,
I don't guess I
respect the Resident Evil. Yeah, I respect the Resident Evil series for having such an interconnected storyline where like almost everything is canon. That's pretty cool, but at the same time, the story is so just nonsensical and like it's bordering on like Kingdom Hearts level like nonsense to the point where it's like I don't like there are people who play Resident Evil games for the story, and you do you. That's great. I couldn't give a
I
fuck.
I thought that was why it was pretty cool that in like the Evil Within games they decided to make it all a simulation style thing in someone's mind to make it a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
more, believable in that weird kind of way. Versus,
It,
Resident Evil,
it'll
it's
it'll
all happening in the real world and we're just okay with it,
yeah.
and it's just normal
You're
that there's crazy shit going on all the time.
yeah,
Somehow the
you're like
rest of
sort
the
of
world
like
just doesn't know about it for like countless games, but it's just all these incidents covered up evidently. But then you get like literal like global terrorist organizations destroying cities and so on. I don't know if you've played like Resident Evil Revelations or not,
I
but
played the first one.
yes, well, I mean they Terra Grigio or whatever, like they destroyed the entire city and all this stuff, and but it's just like everybody still kind of acts like whatever. We just live in a world
I
full of
really wish that you
monsters.
got
It's
to
okay.
actually play the. I wish you got to play the game on that island, but they blow it up in like the first cutscene. You never even get to set foot on it. And I'm like, oh come on, no.
Yep. Yep. I actually
um,
really liked Revelations.
I remember enjoying it.
I
I
played
never
it on
played the
the
second one. I've heard the second. I've heard the second one's better, but I've never played it.
the second one is good. I like the second one. I don't know if I'd go as far as say it's better, but I like the first one a lot. I actually played it on 3DS.
Yeah, same. Or the I played the first one on
Yeah,
3DS. I don't know if the
3DS.
second one is.
I know the second one's not on
Um,
3DS, but that was actually probably my favorite 3DS game, or at least among my favorite 3DS games. It was actually a really fun
it,
experience on there.
it was up there. I remember, but my I think my favorite was A Link Between Worlds. I remember like that was the first game because okay, I'm gonna be real. I grew up playing video games. I loved them. They were like an escape. It was beautiful, great
Same.
times. And then I I look at the video game landscape now, and I'm like, there's a lot of shady shit going on. It's not great. Everybody talks about the 360 era being like a haven or like a really nice time in video games. For me, I almost stopped playing video games entirely because I hated that generation so much, apart from like a couple like standout games. But then like A Link Between Worlds was the first game in like 5 years that I was like, this is my shit. Like I'm about this, and I just played it nonstop until I beat it. Um, I loved that game.
And
It's very, very good. I should play it again.
I still need to play that one. I never did, but that kind of brings me to the whole conversation. Like, you don't have to search through, like the gaming part of YouTube much to find videos saying modern gaming is dead or games used to be better in the past or blah 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 blah. Whatever. Here's the thing. Games have always been good since their inception. They are still good now. They will be good in the future. They will be good in the past. It doesn't fucking matter. Thing is that you need to open your horizons because there's indie games, there's AA games, and there's AAA games. Okay, not all the AAA games are gonna be what you want them to be, and sometimes you got to look a little bit deeper to find the things that are what you want to play.
Yeah.
Some of the best games I've played in the last handful of years have been like indie or AA experiences.
Oh, totally. I mean, like every once like Cruelty. Have you played Cruelty Squad?
No, I have not played that.
Oh my god, I don't even like immersive sims that much, and I don't even know if it's that I don't necessarily like them or that I just haven't played a lot of them.
Yeah,
But Cruelty Squad is shockingly good. Like I remember it's one of the very few that I've played, but I go through like waves where I play it and then I just stop. But
yeah.
every time I'm on that wave of playing it, I'm like, this is how is this game real? It's
Hmm.
crazy good. Um, and I think that
Yeah,
game was made by like 5 people or something like that.
yeah. It's a pretty small game. I'm a pretty big immersive sim fan actually. Prey 2017 is probably like one of my favorite games of all time. But
I actually just reinstalled it because I wanted to give it another go because I tried it twice and I wasn't feeling it, but I'm trying it one more time because I feel like I'm missing something. Something's there that I'm not getting.
sometimes I think people mess up and they try to play it like a shooter, and it throws people off. I also think that the game can occasionally be too complex for its own good as well, because it kind of like there's a lot there, and the game doesn't necessarily tell you that you can do it or that you can't do it.
Mhm.
But one thing is that if you think you can do it, you might be able to do it. and you got to go into Prey with an open mind and be able to think. You got to think very creatively, and you also can't play it as a shooter. I know it seems like it
Right.
might be one, but it really isn't one.
Would you say that you can play it like BioShock?
Like a shooter?
I mean, BioShock's an immersive simi, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, I like to call BioShock an MSim light. Because the only thing
Okay.
MSimi about BioShock is its abilities and like some of its interactive systemic nature of its environments and
Right, like the messing with
it's
the cameras and
some of
hacking
it's like
shit.
hidden paths and optional ways, but Prey is like a whole nother beast. You know, like
It's just
Prey,
all of sorry, I
yeah,
don't know if that picked up or not.
it's a giant like interconnected space dungeon, slightly separated by um loading screen. But everything that you do in each individual area, right, stays that way
There's no
forever.
blood moon. It doesn't reset.
No. But it's like, so like let's just say you make a glue gun staircase to something, you kill a bunch of enemies and you move a turret in the corner. You can go all the
Okay.
way to the end of the game and then come all the way back, and it's still going to be there unless something happened, because there's actually things that happen behind the scenes while you're not there. So
Oh, that's cool.
enemies move organically in the background into areas while you're not there. And so they can affect things while you're not there as well.
Yeah, stuff like that
And it
is
doesn't
super
reset.
cool. I stuff like that about it. Immersive sims always makes me want to try them. Um, yeah. So that's partially why I reinstalled Prey, because like I hear so many people talk about how great it is, and it's like I'm missing something. So I hopefully whenever I do get around to doing
Yeah.
it, because I gotta one beat Tears of the Kingdom, two finish my video on Tears of the Kingdom, and three.
Well, so
Um,
you asked about the BioShock thing, and I will say that you can't play it as much as, okay, you can to some degree play it like this shootery kind of game with special abilities like BioShock. And it has a lot of reactive stuff. But the big difference is that if you do decide to play that way, you're going to quickly run out of ammo,
mm,
because there's also a survival horror element to the game, because resources are quite limited until
mm,
later on when you are able to make ammo and so on at your leisure. Um, but for the most part, ammo is limited, and what should be used as a tool in the same way that every other thing is used as a tool. A tool to whether you choose to avoid or kill enemies, or however you go about traversing the world. In the same way hacking or repair, etc., is used. That I think that's the best way to look at it. Um, just think with an open mind and don't play it as a shooter. And I don't know. I think a lot of things open up when you choose to play that way. Because I think a lot of people
I'll
have tried to play it as a shooter and got thrown off of it, because playing that way can sometimes make the game harder because you're going to run out of ammo and you're like, what do I do?
yeah, it's like trying to go through Resident Evil killing every
Yeah,
zombie. It's like that's just not gonna work.
yeah. Because I mean, there's times where you're going to
We're
have
gonna
to
have a bad
like
time.
avoid the enemy, or you're going to have to like whatever. I mean, you can go through the entirety of the game without killing anybody if you
And Prey,
yeah, if you choose to do so.
do you get an achievement for it?
No, I don't think so. Maybe you do. I don't know. I didn't do it, but you might. I don't know though.
Oh, okay.
Let's just say maybe. But
I'll go with the maybe. That's fine.
it is a possibility though. There's a lot of possibilities in it. And plus, I think another thing that's very interesting about it is it's like semi horror vibe to it. And it's kind of very cosmic horror ish as well. And there's a lot of, it deals with a lot with morality and what it means to be human, stuff like that, which I find to be really cool.
Blade Runner meets Lovecraft. I'm in.
Yeah, in a way, yeah. And Raphael Colantonio, who I did an interview with, he used to be the head of Arcane, and he loves to do those like morality thought experiment things as a game. He did
Oh,
the
he
same thing
used to
with
be
Weird
the head
West.
of Arcane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's over Wolf Eye Studios now.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what happened with Redfall. Hmm.
No, definitely not.
Did you play Redfall?
What'd you say?
Did you play Redfall? I'm just curious.
For some reason you're saying a word and it's just coming. It sounds like you're saying something about something falling, but I just can't make it out. I don't know. Yeah, I did play the game that shall not be mentioned. Um, no, I mean I played Redfall. I the first like hour or so, I was actually having a good time, and I was like, I don't know what people are talking about. It's actually pretty good. And then as I got on, I just started to hate it, because the enemies are absolutely stupid beyond belief. If you bump the game up on higher difficulties, the AI is still stupid. It just does more damage, but they barely ever hit you. And then it's like trying to be a Far Cry game, but an immersive sim and failing at both. It has like
Huh.
these crappy, like, I don't know, they're not hidden barriers. They're very noticeable barriers that you can't get through because it's this red fog that kills you.
Oh,
But it stops you from going to certain areas. And so like the path is technically linear to
I
a
didn't realize it was a
degree.
battle royale.
Yeah, yeah. And then half the time you're just running around and there's nothing. There's nobody to kill. There's nothing around. There's nothing interesting. The lore is cool. The world is interesting, but there's not enough world building. There's not enough lore. There's not enough to keep your attention. Every cutscene is like it was an indie game where it's like this low budget, like graphic novel styled cutscene. Like
Oh,
there's
yeah,
no
I've seen
real time
those.
cutscenes, and I'm like, that's just stupid for a studio with that big of a budget. It's like it
You
wants to
know,
be a game as a service game while not being a game as a service game. It supposedly is a co-op game, but if you play in co-op, it doesn't have drop in, drop out co-op. If you leave the game, it puts you back to the main menu and makes you load your save back. It Yeah, and I mean all the characters, I don't know, they're not that interesting. A couple are cool, but they're mostly uninteresting. The guns are fun and they're cool to use. But when you're playing in co-op, everything feels like shit because it drops even lower in frames and it just runs terribly. And
oh
it's
my God.
already capped out at 30 FPS on next gen consoles,
Yeah, I remember that
which
being a big thing.
is personally I don't give a shit because I played Evil West on Xbox One X, and last gen versions of that game were capped at 30 and 1080p. And I have now played the game at 60. And is 60 better? Yes, but the game was still optimized well enough that it stayed at a constant 30 and ran well enough that it was barely even noticeable the difference between 30 and 60. You know what I mean? So it still felt good.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like a stickler for FPS. It doesn't matter. If it's well optimized to run at a steady frame rate, it really doesn't matter. Yes, it's nice to
I
have
think it depends on the
60.
game.
Yeah, it does matter. It does depend on the game. And it's nice to have
Yeah,
60
yeah.
in fast games, in fast paced games, because that's where you're going to notice it the most. But something like Evil West was optimized well enough that I never really experienced any frame drops. So that steady 30 was
Well, that's good.
still good, you know? Whereas something in Redfall, it consistently drops all the fucking time, especially when playing with someone else. And that's supposed to be the intended experience. And there's even like things in the
Yeah.
game that are made really where you supposed to be playing cooperatively, and they're like sponged up to where you need someone else but you can do it solo.
Mhm.
I'm just looking forward to high functioning mediums video he's working on it. It'll be his second arcane hit piece. He really destroyed Deathloop, which I had a little segment in that video as well where I
Oh,
compared
nice.
Deathloop to BioShock Infinite, where they were both dumbed
Oh,
down versions of prior games and
I,
didn't quite reach the potential of prior releases, but were still fun games with good combat, but they were kind of shells of what came before.
can I just say that, like, I'm me personally, I'm so like I feel, um what's the word I'm looking for? Vilified, I think is the word.
Why is that?
That the discourse surrounding BioShock Infinite has become so negative because I remember when BioShock Infinite came out, I
Well, it
was like,
launched as a masterpiece.
yeah, everybody fucking loved
Do
it, and
you
I
do you want
beat
me
it,
to
and I was like,
do
yeah,
you want me to
this.
tell you something? When I was comparing Deathloop to BioShock Infinite, I wasn't saying it wasn't a bad thing.
Uh,
Necessarily. Like I don't
I
okay.
took it as
Right. Well, if you watch the video, it kind of clears things up a little bit, but like the whole point was that Deathloop and Infinite are similar because they are shells of what came before, right? BioShock
right.
1 is a MSim light. It's more MSim
Yes.
than anything that came after, but it's not as much MSim as System Shock or Prey or Dishonored or anything like that. It doesn't really have choices that affect the end of the game. It's you know what I mean? Or it doesn't really have anything that affects anything minus environmental interaction. And Infinite
Hmm.
took that and dumbed it down further. There's even less
Yeah.
environmental interaction. You have less weapons at disposal one at a time, less abilities, um, whatever. But Bioshock Infinite was my first Bioshock. So,
Hmm.
and when I first played it, I've put it in a category of what I call weird first person shooters, meaning that they're just
Okay.
crazy unique and weird and great. And I love Infinite. I actually really like Bioshock Infinite. I would say the first game is better than Infinite, but I do really still like Infinite as a just straight up A to B first person shooter game. And I classify
I
Infinite with games like The Darkness 2, Bulletstorm, and like just these games that I consider to be weird FPS games
just
that I
wonky.
love. Yeah. They're just
I
unique.
I remember when I first played Infinite, I enjoyed it, but there was a point. I think it was right around the point where you have to kill the ghost, the
Yeah.
the the lady ghost,
Yeah. Lady
where
Comstock.
yeah, where I was like, I just want this to be over because like the combat loop on its own is very good.
Yeah.
Like if someone was like, here, play this, and like
Yeah.
they gave you like two battle arenas, you'd be like, oh, this is fucking great. This is so much fun.
Yeah.
But
Combat's
my
definitely
biggest
way
problem with
better
it,
than Bioshock, but
oh my god, yeah. The combat loop by itself in a vacuum holds up incredibly well.
yeah. It has a pretty convoluted
But
narrative though.
well, that's the thing though. Like I think that the story, you say what you will about like the morality of what the story is saying,
Yeah,
but like
right.
as just like as a point A to point B to point C to point D E F infinitely, it tells a story. It tells its story pretty well, and I personally think that the story is well told, and it's a pretty decent story. And the first time I beat it, I was like, "Holy shit!" Like that twist got me, and I remember saying like, "The game's definitely not for everyone, but I think everybody should at least experience the story because I think the story is good." But
Right.
then I played Infinite again a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I still think the story's good, but I think I hate it.
So the thing that
But
I
I have a whole weird relationship with the entire BioShock series.
but
Like
that's
I think two's the best one. I
right.
think two's the best BioShock game, and I
That's
still think
not bad.
no. But I would cap two as the best one, but I would cap it at like a 7 out of 10.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
I have a weird relationship with the BioShock
that
series.
section was really more about so like I think the reason that Deathloop and Bioshock Infinite both were shells of what came before is for the same reason. Bioshock 1 was crazy successful. Bioshock 2 was a good game, did relatively well, but did not sell as much as the first one, nor as
No,
much as expected. Deathloop, so prior to that, they had even worse scenario than Bioshock Infinite did. Prior to that, Prey launched as a pretty much a failure, didn't make a profit, didn't do well enough. It's considered a meh game at the time. Went on to be a cult classic, and then now has made it all the way to masterpiece status. Which, for the record, I considered it one when it launched. So eat that, everybody else.
you're ahead of the curve.
But then you have Dishonored 2, which is a pretty good game. I like it a lot, and it also was a flop. Didn't, do well enough. and didn't make enough
Dishonored
money.
2 was a flop?
It was, yeah. It didn't do.
Oh, wow. I actually didn't know that. I thought it did well.
It got pretty middling reviews. And it didn't make a profit either. It didn't make enough money. So, of course, the next route would be, okay, how do we make a game that is more linear, less open-ended, and kind of keep some of the same stuff, but make it more mainstream? Make it as mainstream as possible. And now Deathloop is their most successful game since Dishonored 1. Because it was a largely linear game that was made to seem much more open-ended than it actually is because of that like Hitman-esque nature of it, even though there is a certain way to beat the game. Like there is a very specific way to line everything up, to kill everybody, to get everything done. It's a very specific way to do everything, but it makes it feel like you're impacting it in a way that you're not. And so that was a good enough loop that it made it mainstream enough and easy enough and simple enough that people weren't thrown away from it. People understood what it was, and it focused mainly on improving the shooting in their games, which has always been pretty okay. And so it was super successful. And then they continued with that route with Redfall. We make it even more mainstream. Let's make a looter shooter hybrid Far Cry style co-op game. And it would have been a success if it wasn't capped at 30 FPS on current gen consoles.
The AI wasn't dumb as fuck.
yeah, and released like dog shit, poorly optimized, rushed out. I mean, come on. That's funny. So I might as well move on to what I've been playing, and that is...
Oh, yeah. How is it?
Gollum.
Oh, that's not what I was expecting you to say at all.
Oh, yeah. I've been playing a few other things, but I've mainly recently been playing Gollum, a little bit of Hogwarts Legacy, and...
Did you get the Precious Edition?
The what?
The Precious Edition of Gollum?
I actually did, yeah.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh no!
On the digital,
please tell me you refunded
on the digital store.
Oh no!
It doesn't really, doesn't really come with a whole lot. But no, I did not refund the game. I'll explain momentarily.
I'm so sorry.
I'll explain momentarily. What else have I been playing? I've been playing some Forgive Me Father as well, which is really good. I like that game a lot.
What is that? I saw you playing that earlier. What is that?
That's it's like a old school kind of Doom inspired game, but it's very Cthulhu, Lovecraftian.
Oh, wait a second.
And it's got a pretty like cool
I have it, Ray. I have it.
You have
it? What are you talking about? I have it. It was gifted to me.
Oh, nice.
I forgot about that.
It's really, really good though. It's very Doom inspired. It's super fun, super fast paced. It's very, very Lovecraftian inspired. Like
yes. I played it for like a half hour.
I mean, do you know what The Color Out of Space is, the short story?
Yes. Isn't that what the movie From Beyond is based on? Yeah. Or is it literally...
I think it's somewhat based on it, yeah. But,
okay, yeah. I vaguely know about it.
Yeah. Well, they have like a direct reference multiple times to that, like in the first world or whatever. Like they have the actual asteroid, what is this? A colorful space rock or whatever. And it's like the Color Out of Space rock from the source story and so on. Anyway,
nice.
Might as well jump to Gollum. You know, I'm sure that's going to
be the most... Please, tell me everything.
Okay, so... Okay.
Game of the year?
No, it's far from Game of the Year, obviously. but I don't have a negative opinion on the game, which is going to be the surprising part.
Okay.
Right? I don't have a negative opinion on the game. So I'm going to be making a video on it once I beat the game, because I am going to beat the game. And I have a problem with the toxicity of the Lord of the Rings fan base, the gaming fan base in general, and how people just talk so much shit about developers before their games even release, even. So, to add all that up, the game was already getting an immense amount of hate before the game even released. Because people are like, oh, I just don't want to play a Gollum game. Like, who the fuck cares what you want? Like the developers aren't making something because you want to play it; they're making it because they think it's interesting, and they
Yeah,
have.
I will say that like the idea of playing a game as Gollum never was like a negative to me. I was like,
Right.
oh, okay, I could see someone doing something with that.
Yeah, the premise is cool, and there's a lot of possibilities that you could do with that. Um, the interesting thing is, there's a few reasons why the Gollum game ended up the way it is. One, they have developer diaries, and they're very passionate about the project.
Hmm.
But I will say that the story is actually quite good, right? And it's a
Okay.
very old school inspired game. Okay. I never expected Gollum to be a game of the year. I never expected it to be a game that most people liked to begin with when I heard it was announced. I never
Right.
expected it to be just like some modern masterpiece or something. So I went into with
No.
expectations already just normal. I don't go into games with just high expectations typically ever. Um, but so the developer, just to kind of throw it out there, the developer there's been a leak that they actually have another Lord of the Rings game coming out next year, almost around the same time
Oh
as
no.
Gollum released this year. And
Holy shit.
it's another
Okay.
game based around the wizards of the universe or whatever. Which cool, has
Okay.
potential, whatever. That's not been announced or anything like that, but it's set for release next year. Same studio. Now, let me preface that with Daedalic Entertainment, the developers, have only ever made point and click adventure games, and they are a small indie studio. A studio
Have
in
they made any I would know about?
I don't know. You have to look that up.
Okay, for sure.
I don't
That's
think
fine.
I have
Just
played any of their
not
games. I think this is the first game of theirs I've ever played.
okay, for sure.
So it's a studio of which consists of around 100 people, which is quite low for any studio these days. And now, with the knowledge of knowing that the studio was working on Gollum and this other game at the exact same time, that means that the studio of 100 people has been split on working on two games, which means even less people. And also, I'm assuming that they're on tight deadlines if they have two games releasing within a year of each other.
Yeah, no
So,
kidding.
why would you be surprised that the game would release with some technical issues, somewhat dated art style or dated graphics, etc.? You wouldn't be, but people don't care. And so people will go out of their way to, shit talk the game without even playing it, but they won't go out of their way to see the passion that the people put into the game. And I think that's sad. But whatever, it's just the loud majority of people out there.
I I think the biggest problem with all of that information is it just seems like the management is
It
kind
is, yeah.
of
I think it is a
yeah,
problem
that definitely
of,
seems like a management issue.
yeah, I think it is a problem of Nacon, the publisher. I think that's the problem. I think Nacon I think Nacon's the main issue. I think they probably put them on more than one project. Too many projects same time. They gave them not a big enough deadline to make a game that they've never made a game even remotely close to this before. You know what I mean? So that's already a big
Well,
undertaking for a small
I heard
studio.
that they delayed it for like 2 years. It was supposed to come out in 2021, I
Yeah,
think.
they did. Yeah. But I mean, you
Yeah.
still got to think, what is it, 50 people? I mean, if just assume it's an even split between two games. I mean, that's still not a lot of people for that big of a game. Or that,
How big is it actually?
that
Like,
well that big, that like I don't know, ambitious of a game, I guess is a better term. It's a very like it's a linear game for the most part. It's not like an open world
right.
game, nothing like that. It's a very linear game. I don't know how long it is. Like when it was first coming out, I heard people saying like 20 hours, but it's seeming like it's more of like a 10 to 12.
Okay. So
So
like, average
yeah,
single player length.
yeah. So what I've played so far has been pretty fun. I have not had very many performance problems. I've had maybe a texture that, didn't pop in here or there. Um, it's definitely not a perfect game, and I think Gollum's fine. I don't, people memeing about his look or whatever. I think it's fine. I don't think it's that bad personally.
It's a little rough.
I mean, yeah, it's not amazing, but like Gollum already looks fucking weird, so I think it's a little bit, I think it looks a little bit more appealing than his actual look in the movies did. It's just, like fucking
I
gross. But
I think though that like a lot of people's issue that kind of like leads them to automatically kind of hate on it more so than I guess they would otherwise is the price point.
That's
Um,
a really bad one. So, as someone who paid full price for it and plan on beating a game, is it worth that? Fuck no. It's definitely not worth it because it's a low budget, smaller team by like a double A publisher. But
yeah, I think
Nacon is really bad for this. Nacon released another game that is of relatively similar quality called Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood that I bought on sale for $50.
oh they made that game.
Yeah, and I bought that game on sale
Oh
for 50. I
no.
made a video on it. I actually liked the game, but it has a lot of problems and they tried to do way too many things in one game. And the best part about that game was its combat and its like narrative. And
Uh-huh.
if they would have just made a linear story-driven hack and slash adventure game, that game would have been fucking top notch. But that game also was like, 60, $70 at launch. Gollum, like, max price or whatever at launch. That is absurd for a small studio like double A publisher game that they should be like 40, 50 max. You know what I mean?
40 tops.
Yeah, I mean,
I would try to
okay.
push Gollum to be like 30. If it
Yeah,
were up to me, I'd be like, make
okay.
it 30. Just make it,
Yeah, I
it'd
mean
be fine.
30, 40, 50 max, I think, but and that's just for Nacon in general. I mean, they did the same thing with Steel Rising, which is by Spiders, which is an RPG studio that I like. And Steel Rising is a very like Souls-like action RPG game, and they also launched it at like $70. That's just a Nacon
Damn.
thing, but these games are low budget, small studio games that are gonna have their issues, whether they're good or bad doesn't matter. They shouldn't be launching at the same price as fucking God of War Ragnarok and Tears of the Kingdom and whatever. You know what I mean? That's not the same quality of game, so the price should not be the same. You
Yeah.
know, it's
If the price was lower when it came out, I think it would have mitigated a lot of
yeah, I
people's
think
issues
I
with it.
agree.
Yeah.
Some, but as someone who did pay full price for it, definitely don't recommend that. But I am enjoying the game, so I'll get into that. So
Well, that's good.
the story's pretty good. Yeah, sure. Visually, it's blah 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 blah. You know, it's kind of dated looking and kind of dated feeling. Not inherently a bad thing for me because I don't mind the game mostly being 3D platforming, old school action adventure, climbing, mantling, jumping, whatever. I don't mind that at all. The locations are actually pretty cool looking. The story's pretty cool. And the
Yeah, from what I've seen, the
original,
environments are
yeah.
decently like interesting looking.
And it actually looks pretty good with ray tracing.
You have a 4090?
No, I'm not playing on PC. I'm playing on Xbox.
Oh, that's right. Okay,
Yeah. But
yeah.
yeah. But no, it looks really good with ray tracing. They do have some lighting stuff that they need to patch because some of the lighting's just like way too bright and stuff like that.
Oh, that's weird.
The orc character designs are pretty goofy looking, but once
Mhm.
again, don't really care that much. And the original, like, if you watch the dev diaries, which I decided to do because I wanted a perspective that obviously nobody else has, um, so their original intention for the visual design was that they wanted to go for more of a fairy tale look while staying somewhat true to like the films, but not being like directly the same. So giving it a little bit more of a high fantasy, like fairy tale look. And also
Right.
having everything look in a sense the way that Gollum would interpret it, the way he would see the world, in a sense.
Hmm.
Um,
That's an
which
interesting angle to
Yeah,
take.
and they also do some stuff with like choices, narrative choices. I don't know how impactful they are, and I don't even know that if whether they're impactful or not matters. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, if you have choices in a game and they don't really matter, that's kind of stupid. Why are they even there?" Well, man, I mean, they've been doing choices in games that don't really fucking matter for years, and the whole point of choices in games that don't matter is the feeling of it mattering. Even
Mhm.
if like one NPC says, "Oh, that guy was an asshole," that's kind of a cool thing. And yeah, it's a kind of an old school way of looking at it. But this is a tiny studio with ambitious goals and not enough money or time or manpower to really fully develop any of them. The exact same issue with Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood. The exact same issues. so much ambition, so much to do in such a cool world, but they don't have the money, the time, or the people to do it. And
Mm.
that's a problem of the developers and the publishers. It's like, narrow your ambitions down if you got a studio like that.
Yeah.
And needs to be priced accordingly.
Yeah.
But
I
beside,
think more so than
yeah,
anything.
yeah, more so than
That's
anything,
got to be
that's a big one. But I
that's
think
the easiest fix.
overall it's a pretty good game. I think once they kind of like fix some of the frame rate and maybe release some patches and fix some of these bugs, whatever, fix some of the lighting. And, when here in a couple years, when it doesn't matter, the game will be down to like one of those $20 games. And then people are like, oh my God, this is a hidden gem. You know what I mean? I think that's what's going to happen.
I mean, that's possible.
It happens with everything, just about it. You know what I mean? So it'll either be forgotten forever or eventually someone will be like, oh, it was a hidden gem. It was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
Everybody hated it.
I'm waiting with bated breath for the video essays being like, Tears of the Kingdom, but bad, actually? Like, I'm just, they're coming, and I know it.
But, I mean, I think the game is getting rated a little bit lower than it should have, than it should to some degree. I don't know if it should necessarily be a 38 on Metacritic. I feel like that's a little much. Like, it's not that damn bad, okay? Like, it's still playable, has a good story, but all the complaints have been, okay, the game has a really good story. Graphics are dated. But the game design is just, it's not engaging. All you do is just climb and run and climb and platform. I'm like, bro, 10 years ago, that would have been like 10 out of 10 game of the year. I was like, what the fuck else do you expect to do with Gollum? Okay? Please fucking tell me. Is he going to grab a dagger, start stabbing people in the throat? Are we going to have like a Shadow of Mordor thing? Is he going to take on all the fucking orcs? I mean, what do you expect from this?
Could do.
You know what I mean?
I'm trying to think of like the best possible option you can
I
make a
feel like
Gollum
a
game out of.
narrative stealth game was probably the best option. I mean, you can jump up and strangle orcs.
Yeah, I mean, at face value, that's not like the worst kind of like angle to take for sure.
If they had more of a budget and more time and a bigger studio, it could have been amazing. But instead, possibly. It's going to be one of those games. Okay, it was a low budget, fun little experience. I'm going to play it once and I'll probably never play it again. And that's not necessarily bad. It's just don't pay full price for it because it's not worth that. But I still think it's a pretty decent game, and I think it's worth your time if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, or maybe you're a fan of stealth games. It's worth your time, but maybe for like $20, $30, not $70.
Yeah, definitely not.
It's a little crazy, but I kind of decided I was gonna buy it, just screw it, and just see whatever. Someone's got to do it.
And hey, I mean, like, it seems like you don't regret the purchase to at least to some extent.
I regret paying that much for it, but I do like the game, so it's not entirely a loss, which is good.
That's pretty good. I also just realized that our lighting matches. I just happen to have green lighting on. I just realized that.
Yeah, my lighting's a little weird. It could probably change any minute. Because.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but. Yeah, so, I mean, that's Gollum. Then on the brighter side, Forgive Me Father is pretty fucking awesome.
I need to give that another go.
Yeah, I just beat the first boss last night, and I was playing more this morning, and that game's just fucking awesome. And it has a great metal soundtrack, too, and it's just really cool.
I do love me some Doom likes.
Did you ever play Doom 3?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hot take. Doom 3, fire.
Doom 3 is fire, I agree. And since you are a fan of Doom 3, I'm assuming probably the original more so than the remasters, where you actually had to pull out the camera or the flashlight, or did you like the having
I've actually never played. I've never played the remasters. I've only ever played the original version.
Well, the remaster, like the BFG edition and stuff, they have it mounted. So it's a toggleable thing, which I don't think it matters either way. But the point of reference...
I think it does. I personally think it matters.
Well, having the flashlight provides more horror. And not having it, like, to where you have to equip it, obviously provides less because you never have to turn it off.
I think... Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the remaster, the flashlight is available on all guns, right? Or is it just
It's
The
mounted.
shotgun.
It's mounted on your chest.
Oh,
It's a
oh.
toggleable chest mounted light.
Okay. Id here. Okay, I'm gonna take this. Take this. You can have this. Remaster Doom 3
Again,
BFG edition and just make the flashlight on your pistol. Done. Perfect. Best balance possible. You have that. That's all you.
yeah, fair enough.
That's the way to do it. You
And
get
yeah,
the you
and
still get
only on the
the
pistol.
horror element. Yes. And
Yeah,
only on the pistol.
and
That's
it would
it.
work. But so what I was gonna
It would
say is
work.
that Forgive Me Father has a flashlight, and so
Oh.
it's right mouse click, and you pull up your flashlight, and then you can let go of it, and you go back to your gun. It's pretty quick, but you need the flashlight
Mm.
because it gets really dark sometimes, and you kind of got to swap back and forth. So there are some moments of like Doom 3 like horror in the game, and I think that was
That's
pretty cool.
cool.
I've never seen any other game other than Doom, like other than Forgive Me Father, since Doom 3 do that kind of thing where you have to swap to a flashlight and then swap back to your gun to be able to see and fight enemies and stuff.
Yeah, I think in a horror game, something like that actually benefits the game. Like I could see like if you were playing like a Doom 2 or something and then like that was a requirement, I could see
Yeah.
that being an issue. It's like there's fucking shit everywhere. I can't do both of these things at the same time. I'm going to get creamed. But
Yeah.
Doom 3 and horror games are slow enough that like having that forcing that kind of like give and take mechanic thing I think is significantly beneficial in something
Oh,
like
for sure.
horror. Yeah.
And I guess speaking of horror, why don't we talk a little bit about Silent Hill and Bloober Team for a little bit? And
Um
how
yeah,
that
I
goes.
just made
I didn't
a
watch the
I
full
just made a
video,
video.
but I didn't
Oh,
watch
okay. I
all of it
mean,
yet.
yeah,
But yeah.
the whole video is basically for those not in the know, I just made a video, or I say just made a video. It was 22 days ago, I think, almost a month. But the premise of the video is essentially like, can Bloober actually improve on Team Silent Hill 2? And I mean, I think it's possible, but like the video kind of is based around like specific points that I think that the original game kind of like falters in. Um, Even though it's like one of my all-time favorite games, I'm sick of people saying it's perfect because it ain't perfect.
Silent Hill
Um,
2, yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
It's definitely a
mean,
great game, but yeah, I mean, no game is perfect.
no.
Well, I
I
don't know. Red Dead
personally
Redemption 2 is pretty perfect. But
um,
no.
I personally love a lot of Silent Hill 2's faults. But even I'm willing to see some things for what they are as like kind of like missteps.
Mm-hmm.
Not to spoil the video or anything, but like I think possibly my biggest hot take in the whole video is, have you played Silent Hill 2 like all the way through?
No.
No.
Sadly, I have
Okay, then
not,
I
no.
will actively not spoil anything.
Actually, the only Silent Hill games that I've finished completely are Silent Hill Homecoming and Downpour. I've played 2, 3, and 4, and I'm a really good ways through 4. Sadly, the way I had to play 2 and 3 was on the HD remaster for Xbox 360, which, if you're not in the know, did not get the patch that the PS3 version got, where they fixed it. Because PS3 was fixed and 360 was never fixed. They never updated the 360 version.
Oh, I
And it's
thought it was the
dog
other way
shit.
around, but
No, it
damn.
was PS3 that they fixed, and 360 they said, yeah, no.
Good luck.
Have fun. So yeah, if you play those games, apparently they're super buggy. I played a little bit of each, and I didn't experience any bugs, but the game is extremely fucking bright. Like, the lighting is so fucking bright that you can see directly through all of the fog. So it takes
That's
away
just tragic.
every bit of
That's
like
sad.
it takes away every bit of atmosphere is there, because like you can actually see the enemies coming your way, like really
I mean,
easily
I will
see them.
say
So it's weird.
if the HD collection is your only option,
Yeah.
just play it.
Yeah,
It's
that's
not
probably what I'll
like,
do. It's
I
my
mean,
only
it's
option
not the,
currently. Well,
yeah,
actually,
if
so
it's your only option,
I have a PS3, so I
it's,
might just buy the PS3 version if I can find
do you
it
have
somewhere.
do you have like the OG PS3?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind. I was gonna say because the OG PS3 you can play like all Sony games.
Yeah. Sadly I
Um,
don't. I have the last one that they came out with, the shitty one with the top slide thing.
oh yeah,
I don't like that thing.
yeah.
It's stupid.
But yeah, I mean like Bloober Team. I think gets a lot of flack deservedly, but I don't think that they're like a bad studio, and
Yeah.
I don't think that they have any ill will or ill intentions. I feel like a lot of people seem to have this assumption that Bloober Team by default is just going to fuck up the franchise, and I don't think
Well,
that's
I
true
played
because like
their Blair Witch game. Well, I actually sat and
mhm.
watched my friend play the Blair Witch game when it came out on Game Pass several years ago. He wanted to play it, and so I sat and watched him play it for like a 6 hour session.
He beat the whole
And
thing in one sitting.
yeah, yeah.
Oh shit, okay.
And it was actually a really cool game, and that was among one of my first Bloober experiences. And then I played the first Layers of Fear game when it was a free
Mhm.
game with gold on Xbox One several years ago. I never did finish it. I played it and I liked it. I've always thought about going back and playing it. Um,
I I'm in the same boat. I played it, never finished it.
yeah,
I actually just reinstalled it to try to like see where my opinion stands on it.
yeah,
I need to play more of it. And it's very obvious that I think. Okay, let me retract that. I believe Layers of Fear is Bloober's first game or their first
I think it's among.
like mainstream-ish
Yeah, I
game.
think that might be their first mainstream one. Yeah,
So I'm cutting it some slack there, but like um, Layers of Fear as a game is fine. I think that if you only ever played Layers of Fear and then heard that they're remaking Silent Hill 2, you'd be like,
yeah.
"What?"
But there's
But
actually
here's the
so. Oh shit! I forgot I have a Series X. I could play the
what?
medium.
Oh, I've never played that. I've okay.
I've heard very
So
mixed things on that, but that's probably the closest thing that they've made to a Silent Hill game. Um,
yes,
in
I think
gameplay and everything, and it seemed like a
I think
cool
they
thing,
actively
but it did. I don't know.
yeah.
It didn't do well. I don't think.
I think it did okay, but
Yeah,
they actively were like, "Yo, Silent Hill, our Silent Hill game, the
yeah.
medium."
I mean, it was.
Um,
I mean, they had like Akira Yamaoka do the music,
yeah.
and stuff like that.
I
And
heard someone
a lot
mention
of people
somewhere
claim that
once.
they stole art or whatever from
I haven't heard
people
that.
to put that in
I don't believe
I
that
don't believe it. I
because
actually looked into it and stuff, and I'm pretty sure that they just were inspired by art created by this person, but they didn't directly steal anything. And last time I checked, that's not illegal to be inspired by something. So
I will say one of the inherent I hate using the word object. You know, I won't. I won't use the word objectively. I think
yeah.
one of the inherent positives that Bloober Team has as a company and as a developer is their art direction has consistently been phenomenal.
Oh, their art direction is
Every one of their
fantastic. I
games,
mean, look at
yeah,
Layers of Fear, for instance. Then look at the
yeah,
Medium. It's beautiful.
it's beautiful. I mean, like, I don't
That
think,
is something I need to do now,
uh,
though. Is I need to go play the Medium now that I remembered that I have a Series X.
yeah. Let me know how you think of how you feel about it, because
I heard it's
let
not
me
very long, so
make.
it's not like it would be an investment.
I got to make 2 points real quick.
Yeah.
The art direction has always been good, so I think inherently them making a Silent Hill game is a good choice
Yeah.
for at least for the art direction.
Yeah.
And then they also um, every horror game at least that they make is so clearly like we love Silent Hill 2.
Oh
It's our
yeah.
favorite game.
Well, and
That's every one of Bloober's games.
they literally like their games are extremely psychological horror. Like every single game that they've
Yes.
made is a psychological horror game. Now, I'll tell you another thing that people claim about Bloober. They say that they don't do mental health well in their games. Like they use
Yes, that is
mental
a
health as a crutch or whatever for the horror element or something, and they don't
the,
do it
the
well.
stance that they seem to have, at least from my perspective, is well, from what I've heard about the ending of The Witness, this isn't to spoil the ending of The Witness because I don't even know what happens at the ending of The Witness. But from or not Witness, the Medium. I don't know why I said The Witness. Um, the vibe that people seem to have gotten from that is
Yeah.
that like the mental health is like your like it's a negative to be significantly inhibited or incapacitated by it. That seems to be a lot of people's like takeaway from it.
Yeah. As a
And
viewer on the outside, watching trailers and seeing gameplay and stuff, I always seen that it seemed like they used mental illness as like a demon in a sense that you need to conquer in a way. Is what it
Yes.
kind of seemed like.
And
Which,
in
if you were
that,
using depression, that could be a decent analogy, I guess. But I
yeah,
don't
no,
really know
totally.
how they. I don't know what they
It
did exactly because I haven't played the game. So
Yeah, it all really just depends on the angle that you take it with, because like that concept is, I think, part of the reason why I love the movie Men. Have you seen that movie? It was like, it came out, I think, last year.
no, but I watched your video on it. But I also
It
blocked your video out of memory because I was gonna watch the movie. So I'm still basically pretty.
um it's very, very good. It might be my like favorite horror movie. Um but yeah, no, I think it really just depends on the angle that you take it. And from what I've heard, well, okay, you can. I'm fine with you spoiling the ending of the Blair Witch Project game. I've heard that the ending of that is like he is like he's a army vet, right? The main character.
Yes, he suffered from PTSD. It actually has multiple endings, but yeah.
The ending of that game. Spoilers.
Yeah,
We're
go ahead.
gonna spoil the Blair Witch. I'm sorry. Um, the ending of that game, if I remember correctly, he succumbs to the demon, which is the metaphor for depression, right? In the game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, or at least his PTSD to some degree. Yeah.
Right. Um, and I wish I knew more about it before making this point. I won't make the point. My point is
Well, I mean,
that
yeah. I
the
mean, they kind of there's multiple endings to that game, but I think one of them was something about. I think one of them was something about him like giving into the PTSD and like the depression type thing, and like he was the one who like kidnapped the kid that went missing or some crazy shit like that.
oh, that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, okay. Um,
And he was basically like completely ignorant to what he had done because he blocked it out of memory and whatever. And then I
right,
think it
right,
also
right.
was there was a twist with that ending where he actually wasn't an army veteran or some crazy shit like that.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
some Silent Hill Homecoming
Yeah,
stuff.
but there is multiple endings I think that play out differently.
um, so yeah, I mean, like, essentially the way that Bloober Team seems to handle depression and like mental health seems to be people's biggest issue with them making Silent Hill 2, because Silent
I
Hill
also
2.
don't think that anybody will ever be happy with the way that anybody deals with mental illness of any kind in a video game format unless it's done in an extremely tastefully done very mild way like that
It's got to be
game
very nuanced.
like that. I don't know, yeah, to some degree. I mean, I would say
Well,
like the game that I made a review on called Fractured Minds. It's like a probably 15-minute long game that costs like $1, and it was
oh,
done really well. You should check it out. It's pretty
yeah,
cool though. It's
I
a pretty
might give
cool
that
little
a I might.
experience. It's about dealing with it's about like depression and other mental illnesses and like kind of how like like the levels are based on the ways that people feel in certain scenarios and at different times when
Oh,
dealing
that's
with
cool.
depression and stuff. And it was made by a girl, I forget her name, as like a project or something. And it's
Nice.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll look into
And
that.
also every
Um,
purchase of that game, even still to this day, is donated to some charity. Well,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, no, I'll if it's $1, I mean, like, I got
Yeah,
no
it's pretty
excuse.
cheap. It's like
But
it's either $1 or $2.
okay, yeah, yeah, no, I'll look into that. But Silent Hill 2, I think, is potentially the best like narrative game as far as like tackling that topic. It is very nuanced. It is very heavy, and it is very like it doesn't shy away from some fucked up stuff.
Right. Oh yeah,
Um,
definitely not.
but I mean, so a lot of people inherently think Bluebeard is a bad decision. I don't inherently think that, but they have to be really fucking careful. But I feel pretty confident, because here's why I feel confident that Bloober Team can't fuck this up.
Yeah.
If you've seen the trailer, this is not a
Which
lot
I
to go
have.
off of, but if you've seen the trailer, every single scene that they showed in the trailer is almost a direct one to one.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if Bloober Team, especially, okay, hold on, especially because you have some original Team Silent members working on it.
Well, yeah, with the game
I would,
director, composer,
It's a
And
Kiriyama Oka and the creature designer.
yeah, okay.
But the creature designer also worked on other stuff in Silent Hill 2 and 3.
Yeah.
But the creature designer is also doing the combat, and I think he's also doing I think he's working on something else too, as far as the
Will it
remake
be
goes.
the first
But
Silent Hill game with good combat? I don't think any of them
it
have
could
good
be.
combat, so
Yeah, no, I mean, okay.
I mean, come on,
Silent
you
Hill
gotta love
2.
those homecoming fighting stances, though.
Oh, Homecoming. Homecoming. Oh man, I have so many things to say.
Just finish your
Um.
thought on Silent Hill 2, and then
Yeah,
we'll move on to that.
yeah. Because Bloober Team is working with original Team Sign members under Konami, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel like they have enough incentive to not fuck with anything,
Yeah.
and essentially just kind of like, we're gonna tell the same story but just up everything. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
There's the potential that they could make some things angled differently, which could be good or bad,
Yeah.
depending on who it is.
Right.
But like, the simple fact that Masahiro Ito, who is the creature designer, is working on the remake gives me enough hope, because like, he was there. He did a very small interview, I think, with IGN. It was him, the president of Konami, and Akiriyama Oka talking about the remake very briefly. But he was like, I know what people liked about the original. I'm trying to kind of incorporate the same feeling, but just making the combat more engaging.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think there's anybody better as far as like bringing that back, apart from, so many things, to say. I don't even. All I'm trying to say, taking it all back, essentially, if they just keep it how it is and just improve graphics and stuff,
Right.
you can't go wrong.
No.
One thing I am worried.
It kind of seems like what they're kind of trying to do mostly, though. Keep it
Yes,
pretty close.
that's why I don't feel inherently like negative about the remake's potential of being good.
Yeah.
One of the only few things I'm like actively like worried about is, one thing's really stupid. I'll save that one for later. But the second thing is puzzles. I don't think Bloober's very good at making puzzles. Yeah. And Silent Hill has really good puzzles. Silent Hill 3 in particular has monstrously difficult puzzles.
Yeah, the original 3 games did pretty well with that, with puzzles and
yes. Stuff. So I'm worried that the puzzle quality will dip significantly. That would be upsetting. The other thing, the stupid thing I'm worried about, this is so stupid. So what I think makes the atmosphere of like the original Silent Hill games effective is the music, obviously, but there's like so many things just in the world that you find. There are like notes and stuff. There's like stuff on the walls written in creepy things on the walls.
Really good atmosphere and like world building, stuff like that.
Yeah. But like, what makes those notes effective is that they deal with the themes of the games while not being directly related to what's happening in the game. Mm-hmm. So like Silent Hill 2 is all about like depression and like suicide and like really heavy topics. And you'll find a lot of notes throughout the game that are all about, that all relate to those topics, right? But they don't deal necessarily with James or any of the other characters in the game. Bloober Team has a very bad track record of trying to imitate that, but just making it directly related to the story.
Right.
And I hate that. Like, there's so many times.
That's what the story is for, you know. You need that. You need to have those as like a kind of like a filler to help build the world around it.
Yeah, and like, I don't have an issue with games like Dark Souls where like the story is the lore and you like read all that. Like, that's fine, but like, if you can tell the same story and have like all of those notes and stuff related to the narrative and just kind of like build suspense and atmosphere through reading these like cryptic things. But like, when you pick up a note and it's like, "Dear Mr." and then like the name is scribbled out and then it's just like a medical diagnosis about obviously you, it's like, okay. I hate that. That's my stupid problem that I'm afraid for Bloober Team.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully not.
I really hope not.
Yeah, what were you gonna say about Homecoming?
Oh my god.
Oh,
Homecoming
also want
has
to talk about a game that people don't like the way they did like mental health in.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. I'll make the Homecoming thing really quick. Homecoming has okay, objectively bad combat system.
Yeah,
Because
I wouldn't say the combat system's great. I actually did enjoy the boss fights though.
um the boss fight, okay. The combat is bad because it implements a dodge mechanic, right?
Yeah.
But the dodge mechanic is broken.
Yep.
You'll lock onto an enemy, like in Dark Souls, and you will and
Yeah.
like you'll kind of like you'll have like an axe or something, and you'll be
Hmm.
kind of like like strafing around him and stuff, and then like they'll
It's
attack,
goofy
and
as
then you
hell
can
too.
like you can dodge out of the way, right?
Yeah.
At least in my experience, and I played it on the 360 when it was new, and I played it on a piece on my PC recently. Um, you will you'll be strafing right, and then you'll dodge, and you'll dodge right. But then you strafe left and you hit the dodge button, and then you dodge right into an attack, and you just get hit constantly.
Yeah.
Um, I think that Silent Hill 2 Remake looks to be implementing a very similar kind of combat system where it's like locked on
Yeah.
and you kind of like dodge out of the way and stuff, because they showed a very 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 brief like instance of combat happening like in engine,
Yeah.
or like in developer view or whatever, and it looks to use that, and a lot of people are like, well, this is going to be bad inherently because it's not it's not
Well, I
talking
mean, the
you don't
Silent
it
Hill
doesn't feel
2
like a
has terrible combat anyway, so does the first one and the third one. I mean, they all have bad combat. I would never go as far as to say they're necessarily good. I mean,
I wouldn't say they're necessarily good, but they're serviceable. The
yeah,
combat is
they're
serviceable in the original
100%
games.
serviceable, but they're no by no
Yes.
means good, right? They're
um
serviceable, but I don't think they're good. They're definitely not great. And
no, they're not great. It's not great.
almost anything is an improvement as long as it's done well enough. As
My favorite
long as it's
argument
not
about
Homecoming.
my favorite argument towards Silent Hill 2 remake being bad combat
Yeah.
wise, there's been people being like, "Oh man, can't wait to suffer through one's inner turmoil by uh, army dodging out of the way of a fucking attack," and it's like, do you have no survival instinct? Like,
No, they don't.
I
They
don't
just
care who you are. If there's a
well,
knife careening towards your face, you're gonna go like, "Oh God," and
yeah,
fucking dodge out of the
you're
way.
gonna move somehow.
Like
No,
it's like,
to branch it off for a second, I actually think that Homecoming has a
mm,
very, very interesting world.
yes,
Like I
there
think
are a
kind of
lot of
how it like the neighboring town to Silent Hill and the families connected to all this the cult stuff and like the just the amount of world building that's in that game was I thought was really cool as someone who liked the world and narrative of the games.
yes, no, I actually think that I don't think I wouldn't even say Homecoming's good, but it's got a lot of interesting things going on. I
Yeah.
like a lot of what Homecoming does. It's just executed kind of
Yeah.
clunkily, and it really gets in the way of my enjoyment of it. But there are
Did,
definitely a bunch of standout things
did I
about
ever
it for
tell you what
sure.
my first Silent Hill game was ever?
I think you said Homecoming.
No, it was Downpour.
That was your first one?
It was my first one, yeah. So my dad's a big fan of the series. He played the original 3 and Downpour. I don't know if he played Homecoming or 4, but he played the other ones. And he actually recommended Downpour to me because he liked it.
Mm.
And then it took a little while. Eventually, I did buy it. And not only was it my first Silent Hill game, but it was also the first horror game to like really get me into horror games. So
Oh,
I'd always
really?
been a fan of horror in general. I watched horror movies my entire life, so on. I had dabbled into stuff like Dead Space prior to that, and I'd played like Resident Evil 5 and stuff like that, but I was never like super, super into horror games in general. But Downpour really got me into it because my first introduction to that, it got me, a lot more into the psychological horror aspect and just it made me really become a fan of environmental storytelling and atmosphere in games, which is
Mm.
something that I'm pretty picky about to this day. And I actually, I mean,
it's a very small thing, but it can
yeah.
make a huge difference.
And I mean, for all the, weird things in Downpour, I actually still find it to be a pretty good game. And I actually really do like it. It's not perfect by any means, but I did enjoy it. And it's kind of like semi open-ish environments. And it's like side quests that are actually quite interesting.
Yeah, the I think that's Downpour's got a lot of problems. I I don't. I need to go back and beat it. I started it again not that long ago, but I think one of the coolest things that Downpour did, regardless of its execution, is the fact that it's like semi-open world.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I hope. That's one of my biggest hopes that
Silent Hill 2.
the Silent Hill 2
It's more
remake is that
open
they
and less level based,
yes.
kind of, yeah.
Um, I mean, I can just imagine like because like in the original Silent Hill 2, you have like a whole section of the town that you can explore, but you can only really go into like the big dungeon buildings. Speaking side tangent real quick. Silent Hill is just a spooky Zelda. Okay, anyway, you can only go into you can only go into
Fair.
like the dungeon areas, and then like there's like one or two other like rooms that you can go into that are like buildings. There's like a trailer that you can find.
I'll tell you a
But
game
like just
that
some,
does the open world Silent Hill thing kind of well, in my opinion. That's the Evil Within 2.
that's another one. I played that. I was not feeling it.
I kind of get that, but at the same time, I think that it's town that is in the main town that you come back to a lot. Gave me
Mm.
Silent Hill vibes, and
Yeah, a little bit for sure.
yeah, and
Um,
I thought if they could do something similar to that, just like having this town that's explorable, you can go into most of the buildings and so on. That would be cool. Like all real time, just walk in, open the door,
yeah,
and go ahead and do
totally.
the stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah, if they can make like a couple like so like in Silent Hill 2 you go through the apartment complex, the hospital, the historical society and the hotel. Those are like the big ones. If they can somehow like make one or two, potentially three or four optional mini dungeons,
Yeah,
that would be incredible that you can
that'd be
just
cool.
explore. And then there's like a couple
As
other
like
like
a
houses
yeah,
and
as
stuff
like
that
a
you could
little side path that maybe leads to
yeah,
something. Yeah,
exactly. And then
that'd be cool.
like I talk about this in my video, but like at the end of those like optional places, like you could put like a stat upgrade because there's no way that a horror game nowadays cannot implement some sort of like upgrade
Yeah,
system, and that's
yeah.
fine. I don't mind that at all.
Increasing
Like Dead
stamina or
Space
something like
uses it.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, Resident Evil 7 started doing it too.
yeah,
But like if you go through like an optional mini dungeon and you get like a yeah like a health upgrade or like a stamina upgrade or like a backpack so you can carry more shit to make it worthwhile on top of being spooky and fun,
yeah.
that'd be great. That's my biggest hope for the remake is that they make the town more explorable.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I'm looking forward to see what they do with it. Honestly. It'd be pretty cool.
It could be really bad, but
Yeah, I mean,
I'm holding out hope.
there is that potential that it could be really bad. Let's hope not.
Yeah. I don't envy Bluebird Team even a little bit because the amount of pressure would keep me up until I died. I
Yeah,
would be
they
crushed into a
definitely
diamond.
have a lot of pressure, and I think they might do pretty well. I mean, hopefully they do. But
I'm holding out hope. I don't think I've ever been more hopeful for a game in my entire life.
yeah,
But I've also the fear is there
yeah, yeah.
because
And especially even
I
more
can't.
so as someone you're a big fan of the series and so on. So that's an added pressure, something you really
Yeah,
love.
I've gone on record. I've gone on record saying that Silent Hill 2 is the most meaningful thing in my meaningless life.
Damn. You're also a Dark Souls 2 lover.
It's the best one. I actually, you know what? I take that back. Sekiro is the best one. Dark Souls 2 is next best.
Fair, fair. Yeah.
Dark
Yeah.
Souls 2 has a very very repressive, not repressive. What's the word I'm looking for? Oppressive,
Yeah.
oppressive energy about it, and I
It
really
does.
like it.
I also,
Emotionally
I, I,
oppressive.
I I messaged you a while back about a Dark Souls video that I'm working on, and I don't know when it's gonna come
Oh
out,
yeah,
but
that's right.
yeah, but
Yeah, let me know when you.
I've wrote a pretty good bit of it. I have a spot, like if you wanted to be in there.
Yeah, totally.
But it's kind of like the video is kind of going to be on the point that everyone misses about the Souls games.
Hmm.
You know,
I'm interested to hear what your thoughts are on it.
yeah. So I mean, kind of a little bit of it is like people miss the fact that the Souls games are a bit more than just these difficult games that everyone overhypes to be the hardest things you've ever played in your entire existence. They're actually, they're games that tackle depression, and their kind of overall theme is a little bit around that as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, you can easily kind of have that takeaway for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting video for sure. But
I'm excited to see it.
yeah, I actually, because when I messaged you, I was wanting you to kind of talk about Dark Souls 2 in the video a little bit.
I was about to say, if you have something pre-written, I'll read it. But if it's talking shit on Dark Souls 2, I ain't doing it.
Sir, I know that you're a really big fan of Dark Souls 2. Would you like to do a part in a video talking shit about Dark Souls 2?
Why does this game not have iframes the right way?
No,
I don't like it.
Yeah, I was kind of wanting you to talk about, because I actually kind of my phone died, but I was gonna say it's kind of like, I think Dark Souls 2 has probably one of the best atmospheres in the series, and
I think so.
probably some of the best looking locations, for sure.
You.
And it was I kind of wanted you to talk about something around that. I'll have to look at my notes and see what it was, but
I thought that this would be a more agreeable opinion, but I think that Dark Souls 2 easily has the best art direction of all of the Souls games.
Yeah, I think it really does, honestly. Like
the color.
I know I'm among the minority who actually likes Dark Souls 3 for several reasons, but
nope.
I really liked that game a lot, and the ending for me was really special. But I do think Dark Souls 2 is much better than a lot of people give it credit for, and I think that it has a really good art design, and I think it has probably easily one of the best atmospheres. And there's nothing like that Majula soundtrack.
So good.
That Majula song. And I think it should be just as iconic as Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
Sadly, I would say that Dark Souls 3's like Firelink is not as, I mean, just the way that they did that in 3 is not as impactful, like emotionally, as the way the Dark Souls 1 did it, or the way Dark Souls 2 did Majula. Because it is literally a place that is connected to nothing. And
I do like the fact that it is, I mean, similar to because Dark Souls 3's Firelink and Dark Souls 2 Majula are actually very similar in the sense that, like, you can go anywhere from there. Unlike I guess in Firelink in Dark Souls 1 you can go anywhere, but like
Dark Souls 3 is its own little pocket dimension though, so you have to to fast travel to everything. Whereas Dark Souls 2, there are places directly connected to it. It's not every place, but there are places. So like
I guess what I mean is
if you go down the well, or you go that one path and so on, so there are places directly connected, but there are a lot of places that you have to travel to.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, Dark Souls 1, like, from Firelink you can go like 3 directions, but like Dark Souls 2 you can pretty much go anywhere.
Yeah.
And then Dark Souls 3, just by inherently it being like a fast travel spot, you can go anywhere. That's I guess what I was trying to say.
Yeah, yeah. What I was trying to say was that, Dark Souls 3 just feels like it's a pocket in time, whereas the other ones feel like they're more directly connected to stuff.
Yes. One of my favorite arguments against Dark Souls 2 from Miyazaki fanboys was like, there's way too many fucking there's way too many bonfires in Dark Souls 2. It eliminates the feeling of being lost and blah, blah, blah. And then Dark Souls 3 comes out and like it has the same, if not more, bonfires, and no one said shit. Because Miyazaki made it. To be honest, it's the only reason people like that game.
I don't think that there was many people who were against Dark Souls 3. I mean, I've seen more pop up over the years, but there's not that many. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. So, for me, like, Dark Souls 3 it was just a fan game. It wasn't a game he even wanted to make, and it was just made to like tie it all up, and he had a contractual obligation to make another game. But,
Yeah,
so it's kind of like Metal Gear Solid 5 for Kojima. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that he wanted to make. Like he never wanted to make Metal Gear Solid 5.
I've
Um
never thought about that comparison, but that's pretty
yeah,
pretty
it's
spot
a
on
weird
actually.
comparison, but it is. I mean, it's like Miyazaki didn't want to make another Souls game. He wanted to make Bloodborne and go on from there, which he did, but he had to make that in between. Kojima, Hideo Kojima never wanted to make Metal Gear Solid 5. He was good where he left it, but he made one anyway. And, both games suffer from that and both games prosper from that. So both games are very much these like as fan servicey games you could possibly imagine and somewhat tie things up at the end, but they also feel like they were kind of like a weird game that nobody wanted, but people still love.
It felt like a contractual
Yeah,
obligation.
yeah. And don't get me wrong, I still like Dark Souls 3 and I still like all of its connections because that game connected like everything. It connected Bloodborne, non-canonically. It connected Dark Souls 1 and 2, and there's just so much reference and a lot of fan service. I like the mixture of like that Souls style with the Bloodborne architecture. I liked a
Oh,
lot of the bosses. I did like the final boss and the music hit, and I actually shed a tear when that game ended. Not gonna lie, but I'm not saying that it's the best of the games, but I do like it a lot.
my favorite hot take, more so than Dark Souls 3 is bad, which I believe, but because Dark Souls has a consistent through line of cycles,
Yeah,
you can make the argument that Dark Souls 3 is the first one, and everyone after that is, and every game is a sequel because there's like this. There's so many references to like the world ending. You can, but the biggest
yeah,
argument towards that, the biggest argument towards it being the first one is the you find a painter who is painting the painted world of Ariandel from the first game.
yeah. You also find a reference to that like in Elden Ring as well.
Do you really?
Like a painter, yeah, making a very like almost looks exactly the same. The painting of the
I
painted
wonder.
world of
It's been so
Aramis.
long since I played Elden Ring. I can't remember if I
Um,
found that or not.
but I think it's the opposite. I mean, I think Dark Souls 3 is meant to be the end of all things because I think that's why, like, when you're in the worlds, that they look like this giant, convoluted, big, twisted, fucking just weird looking thing. And it
Oh
just
yeah, no,
makes
no,
no
no.
sense because I think it's every universe colliding at the same time. And they made
Yes.
this weird mishmash of things because the thing with the Souls games is, you when you light the flame, it creates the age of fire, which then leads to the same inevitable cycle over and over and over. And that's a thing that they really pushed in Dark Souls 2 and made that connection of like, this, like that one guy you meet, I forget his name, he's talking about how he was from a different kingdom and they all got frozen and all these people are from different
Oh
kingdoms that are all the same kingdom, but they're not the same kingdom, but they're
yeah,
the same
yeah.
kingdom. So
He
it's all the
he
same
asked
story.
he asks you where you are, and you tell him
Yeah.
you're in. Oh fuck, I can't remember the name.
Drang Lake.
I want to say Daedalus, Drain Lake. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, that's not the name that I know this place to
hmm
be."
hmm
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like, there's
For the
just always
record,
that rich history. Yeah.
real quick, for the record, I want to clarify for anybody listening. I don't think that Dark Souls 3 is the first one. I just want to make that very clear. I'm just saying you can make the argument.
You
It's
could. Yeah.
possible. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, you could.
I think
But
it's funny that you can do that.
yeah, I think it's, very much Dark Souls 3 is just like it's the end of times. It's the end of everything. It's the
Yeah,
final cycle. I think that is the final cycle.
yeah,
Unless if you want to go and me personally, I say that it's all like it's all in the same universe. I think including Sekiro and Elden Ring, I think it's all somewhat connected to some degree or another.
it's the
They
DSU.
just legally can't say that. But in Elden Ring, they
Oh,
even have direct reference to Sekiro.
oh, wait, hold on. I know what it is. I don't. What's the reference?
Well, it's the one of the starting characters is the main one, and I think there's other ones other than that. You can when you start out as the samurai
Samurai?
character, It's from the Land of Reeds, which is a direct translation of reeds or reeds or something like that. Is a direct translation of something in Sekiro, like the name of the location in Sekiro or some shit like that. I can't
Oh,
remember.
I don't think I knew that.
Something
That's
weird. It's
interesting.
something weird like that. But yeah, it's basically like a direct reference to that. I don't
I
know
was
if
about
there's
to
any
say,
more than
like,
that.
why
There
is
might
it?
be.
I was about to say, why is it like? Why can't they legally say that? It was like, oh, because Activision owns Sekiro.
Yeah, it's because
Oh,
publishers. Yeah, so
yeah, yeah,
Dark Souls and Elden Ring are owned by Bandai. So
yeah.
legally, I guess they could say that those are connected. And then Bloodborne is Sony, and Sekiro is, and so is Demon Souls. But like all of them are all connected. Like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, they all exist in the same thing. And
I
there's
can see that. I don't think I've
so many
heard
hidden
anybody's.
references in every single game to the other games. There's connections to the cycle or the blood, the blood hunt and so on that just connects everything. Like
That's interesting. I don't think I've actually
something like Sekiro
looked
could
into
just
that.
be um a whole nother just kingdom and not not the kingdom of Dark Souls but within the same universe. Bloodborne is
Right.
probably just a future cycle where the world went into the Age of Dark and kept progressing instead of resetting.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's a neat little potential linking
Yeah.
through line.
Yeah. Um
Speaking of From Software and horror games, have you ever played Kuon?
no. No.
Don't buy it.
Oh, okay.
Get it somehow, because dude, that fucking game is like $600. But it's a good. It's if you like horror games and you like kind of like old school PS2 horror era stuff. Kuon's a very
I'll
very
try
good
to
game
find it in the
legally.
yeah, legally in the yeah.
But yeah, no,
Trying to find a good set.
man, one of my biggest wishes is that From Software just makes another horror game, because with today's technology, it would be the scariest shit ever.
Do you? I
I would
mean, let me
have
tell
full
you
faith in
something.
them.
Other than the fact that they're making Armored Core, I hope that they don't make a sequel to Elden Ring. I hope that they never make another Souls game. Maybe make a Bloodborne, but I don't think that they can make anything to top Elden Ring. And I
Uh,
mean that from the perspective of they went
like
open world with
design.
that game, the design, the multiplayer, the just the story, the narrative, the multiple endings, how big it is, how complex it is, how much further they went with world building and freedom of play, and how much easier it is to get into Elden Ring than any of the other games that they've made. There's just no way that they can ever top it, in my
I think
opinion.
above, yeah, I mean, especially on like the kind of idea that like Elden Ring seems to be like the culmination of like everything that they've been doing with the Souls
Well,
games.
it really is. I
It does
mean,
kind of feel
just
like,
like
yeah, it feels like a farewell or like
yeah.
a swan
I mean,
song.
between the references and direct and like connections to prior games, and also just like that was probably their biggest innovation in a long time as far as game design, and just how much is taken from other games and kind of mixed around, with like eh, just elements from all their other games, Sekiro and so on. You know what I mean? And just
Yeah, definitely.
uh,
Um,
Elden Ring was a really good like just culmination of everything from Soft in one product, and I just don't know how they can make another game like that. Obviously, it's going to happen because I mean, unless they're just going to make Armored Core games till the end of time, which
they make
maybe they
Sekiro
will.
2.
Maybe they will make Armored Core games till the end of time because they haven't made one in a long time, and now they're about to come out with another one.
Yeah, this could be the next Souls for them, where they just make like
I'm
Armored
actually
Core
pretty
for the next like 8
sure
years.
that I've played one Armored Core game. I think it was Armored Core. It was an arcade version, and it was in this place I used to go camping. That was a campground. There was an arcade there, which I played a lot of House of the Dead there, and
Nice.
they had one of those arcade VR things, right? That you slide over your head like this, and you hold the two
Oh
handles, and you
yeah.
rotate, and then the handles have
Holy shit,
buttons.
I forgot about all
Yeah.
about those.
And so it has like I think it's it don't go all the way around. It's just left, right, and forward. And yeah, so you're like flying around shooting and you're moving it with your head, but it's, technically VR. Kind of
Uh-huh.
old school arcade VR. And it was actually a really, 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 really cool game. And I think that was an Armored Core game. I don't know which
The
one or
only
anything, but it was definitely cool.
the only Armored Core game I've played is 4, and it was on an emulator, and it didn't work. So
He said emulator, get him. Get him. No.
But I've heard that the PS1 games are very good. They hold up. So I might give those a go at some point.
Yeah, I watched what's his name? Daryl Talks Games, maybe?
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I think it's him or someone. He did a whole thing where it was like a retrospective of the entire Armored Core series that he's never played before. But when they announced Armored Core 6 or whatever, or 5 or whatever it is, that he just went and played
Fires
the
of
entire
Rubicon?
series and did basically one video that reviewed every single one of them.
Jesus.
Or at
That
least
means
the
he must
mainline
have
series or something.
that means he must have played, written, recorded, edited every one of those within 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I think it only got announced like 3 months ago.
Yeah. And it wasn't that
That's
long
crazy.
It wasn't that long ago either.
Yeah, that's wild. But yeah, no, I plan on playing at least one or two of them at some point. But wait, the new one comes out in like a month?
Does it?
2 months? I think it might be in July. Hold on, I'm gonna look this up right now. I need to know. Let's see. Hold on. Armored Core comes out. Tell me August 25th.
Well,
Okay.
I'll
so it's
be
not quite
playing...
as close.
No, when's that coming up? September. Yeah, I'm
Which
looking
game?
forward to Mortal Kombat 1.
Oh, nice. That's coming out this year?
Yep, September.
Damn.
They'll have the beta.
I can't do fighting games
They'll
anymore.
have the beta available in August. I've always
cool.
I've always been a huge Mortal Kombat fan, and so
I like Mortal Kombat. I like.
I'll do.
I just can't do fighting games anymore. They make me too angry.
Not been revealed on anything. But
Yo, damn.
Yeah.
You really do like Mortal Kombat. Holy shit.
Kombat.
Here, look. I like possums.
I never would have guessed. But nice. Oh. So, do you actually have a pet possum? Is that you?
No, I don't. They're not legal pets, at least in California. Plus, you
always have that like possum thing at the end of your videos.
Yeah. No, that's just a random video I found on YouTube. It's just some old lady that found a possum in her backyard, and she's like, "Oh, you're so cute," and the possum's clearly having a bad time.
Yeah, he's like, "No."
Yeah. Even if you could keep one as a pet, though, like legally, I wouldn't want to. I don't think, because they only live like 2 years. It'd be really sad.
Yeah,
they live a very short life.
Yeah, get connected to it and then they die. That would be sad.
Sad.
That would not be worth it. I want a raccoon though. I want a raccoon pet.
Raccoons are fucking adorable.
You can't have them I don't know where you can have them, but where I live you can't have them as pets. I know there are some places you can have a domesticated raccoon. That'd be cool as shit though, because they have thumbs. And it would just be entertaining.
Possums have thumbs too.
Oh, yeah,
little shitty thumbs.
I mean, because it'd just be cool, because raccoons are actually pretty smart. And everything I've seen
definitely.
that are like domesticated, like living with people and stuff, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, the people give a lot of shit on,
but possums get along with cats.
I have not heard about that, but I could see that. They're both kind of like,
well, my cats
leave me the fuck alone.
My cats used to let a local possum eat the food.
Really?
They would watch him do it. Yeah.
Yo,
like, hey,
that's
you
trust,
can have some, bro. Yeah, and so I did some research.
I see you struggling out there.
I did some research into it, and apparently possums and cats just kind of like coexist. It's rare that they fight or anything, unless threatened or whatever. But yeah, most of the time they just kind of coexist.
I wonder if cats think that possums are just big cats.
They're just big ass cats. I mean, maybe, because there are like mountain lions and big ass cats, so maybe.
Yeah.
I had a Maine Coon, which is a big ass cat, and he's about the size of a possum.
Oh yeah, holy shit! Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so
possums, big ass cats. Confirmed.
Actually, a funny story is I actually think my cat was intimidating a baby mountain lion a few weeks back at my house.
I gotta tell me about that right now.
Well,
What
I
happened?
walked outside to get something out of my car, and my cat was at the bottom of my driveway. I live pretty much in the woods, and
Okay.
my cat was at the end of my driveway, and he was just like doing his like, it's like this in his like position and walking really slow. It was like even
Yeah.
slower than his normal like sneak crawl.
Hmm.
And then I saw something in front of him that looked bigger than your typical cat and kind of fit the description, of like what like a small mountain lion would look like. Could have just been a big ass cat, but I don't think it was. And yeah, so he was like sitting there and the mountain lion thing was going like and I was like, okay. I just kind of left him alone, but it looked like the mountain lion thing was like intimidated or something. I don't know how it went. My cat's alive, so I assume that they didn't get into a fight.
It must have gone
I
well
guess
to
they
some
just
relative
coexisted.
extent.
Yeah. But all
That's
right.
crazy.
So, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
Um, just I guess just keep an eye out for my next video coming out. Hopefully, it'll be done in about 2 weeks.
What's the next video?
I'm gonna be talking. It's gonna be talking about Tears of the Kingdom, baby.
Oh yeah, Tears of the
But
Kingdom
not in the way
video.
that you would think. Not in the
Oh,
way that you would think.
I'm excited to hear more about it because I honestly have almost completely avoided any reviews or anything on it because I haven't beat Breath of the Wild, so I've not really paid much attention to it at all. But
Well, I'll be talking about both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but
he's going to be talking about how you don't even need to play Breath of the Wild, just play Tears of the Kingdom and just throw Breath of the Wild out the window. You don't even need it.
no. I'm going to be using the game as a backdrop for something, but hopefully,
Yeah,
hopefully it'll be out in roughly 2 weeks. But
sweet.
I'm working on a I guess you could call it like a thoughts and feelings video on the whole PlayStation showcase, and I
Okay.
might make another video about the Alone in the Dark upcoming game that's
Yeah,
coming out. They
looks
released like a
interesting.
little demo.
Yeah.
Yeah, they released a little demo the other day.
It
I
looks.
might make
Wait,
a
there's a
little
demo
quick. Yeah, it's
on
literally an 8-minute demo.
what?
PC. It might be on consoles. I don't know, but I know it's for sure on Steam.
Huh. I'll have to check that out.
But yeah, I mean that's all I got going on. But yeah, I gotta get going too. Actually, I'm helping shoot a music video later.
Oh, cool. Well,
Yeah,
I'll probably have some videos coming out soon. One on Gollum. That
I'm
should be
looking forward to
fun. And
it.
probably a few others, some
you
smaller projects. I'm actually working on something on a game called Eschaton.
I've not heard about that one.
It's like a one-man developer game. Costs $2.99. And it takes about
Eschaton.
30 minutes to beat. It's on Steam. And I'm going to be making a
Okay.
video on it pretty soon, and I'm giving away 5 keys for it because the developer gave me keys.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give away keys. It's a pretty cool little experience. It's like a PS1 inspired kind of horror walking sim ish game with the
That yeah.
heavy like occult / religious themes and
Undertones.
the end of the world kind of stuff. Yeah, pretty cool.
Shoot me the name of that
Yeah, we'll do.
on Discord, and then the name of that other game, that dollar one that you were talking about. Yeah, I'll look into those.
Oh yeah. I'll send you both
Yeah,
those.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, man.
But yeah,
Looking forward to your
thanks for
stuff.
the conversation.
No problem. It was actually pretty. It was a pretty
good
good one,
time.
especially since we went into it with no idea what we were going to talk about.
Oh, winged it the whole time, baby.
Hey, it worked
Who
out
needs
pretty
prep?
well. Yeah, who needs prep? Nobody. All right, man. Well, have a good one. It was awesome having
See you
you on
later.
here. Hopefully, we'll do it again soon.
Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm down. Let me know.
All right, man.
See you.